Breaking news enthusiasts take a stance. The surprising revelation about Bombshell that just appeared online has drawn attention from the entertainment industry. Jim Jones and Chrissy Lampkin have discreetly filed for divorce after 20 years of seemingly ideal marriage. Yes, you did read that correctly. This power couple has reached an unexpected breaking point after going through many highs and lows over the years. And the truth is finally coming to light. Many fans are shocked and wondering how this could have occurred. In particular, what went wrong? Chrissy, who formerly stood behind Jim no matter what, is now startled and unhappy. What caused this sudden breakup? Was there a significant altercation? A betrayal? Or is there anything more sinister that we don't yet know about? Insiders claim that fans are shocked to hear that the divorce was kept a secret for many months. Jim Jones, who has always been seen as a loving husband, is now the focus of a media frenzy that casts doubt on Chrissy and their followers. What caused one of the most well-known reality TV couples to split up? Does the narrative go beyond what we've been told? Stay in as we delve into this tragic breakup and reveal the startling truth about Jim Jones and Chrissy's secret divorce. The abrupt divorce of Jim Jones and Chrissy Lampkin has shocked the entertainment industry, and fans are attempting to understand what's going on. After 20 years of dating, the well-known couple is going through a difficult breakup. But what was the true reason behind this sudden turn of events? While many fans believe Jim and Chrissy survived the storm, new revelations indicate a more significant conflict that was kept under wraps. Everyone wants to know what went wrong. Those close to the couple claim that their relationship has been strained for some time, but no one had predicted Jim's abrupt, quiet decision to halt it. It all began with a series of acrimonious disputes that seemed to worsen throughout the preceding year. The once loving pair began to exhibit indications of disagreement after experiencing many ups and downs in their relationship. It was hard to ignore things. There was a lot of tension. According to one report, Jim and Chrissy were just unable to communicate. Towards the end, they seldom spoke to one another. Chrissy, Jim's longtime pillar of support, was reportedly taken aback by the news. She had always encouraged Jim's profession and their shared life, but as the months passed, she saw that Jim was becoming more distant. Chrissy thought everything was fine. The person goes on, but for months, Jim had been emotionally distant and fading. She tried to make things right, but Jim had changed. It all culminated one evening when Jim supposedly told the truth over a normal dinner. Chrissy was shocked when Jim subtly informed her that he wanted a divorce after she had been thrilled about their future plans. The couple's close pal described it as like a smack in the face. Chrissy wasn't ready for it. She believed they were working things out, but Jim had already made up his mind. Jim's handling of the matter was even more outstanding. Instead of being open and honest with Chrissy about it, he filed for divorce behind her back. There were no major disputes, no statements made in public, and no violent altercations. Jim just went forward with the divorce and let the media tell Chrissy about it without giving her any advance notice. She was never treated with the dignity of real discussion by Jim. It was cold, calculated, and cruel. According to the same source, Jim's abrupt, clandestine change raised suspicions among his friends and family. Many question if there was more going on behind the scenes and why he didn't address the matter more candidly. Although there isn't any hard proof, some people believe Jim could have been seeing someone else. A self-assured Jim admits, it's possible there was someone else involved. Chrissy was unaware that Jim may have sought solace elsewhere. There was a media frenzy. Many people were taken aback by the sudden divorce, and social media exploded with speculations and speculation. Fans who had come to love the two over time were startled and perplexed. It's unbelievable that Jimmy would harm Chrissy in this way. One admirer said, they were supposed to be a power couple. This is so unexpected. Another person commented, what took place? I never imagined Jim would end things the way we did. Chrissy was reportedly upset as fans processed the news. Christy is unprepared, and others close to her said that she was quite upset, feeling duped and embarrassed by Jim's behavior. A family member who has been having trouble processing things claims that this is how he pays her back for giving him everything. In the days after the revelation, Chrissy was seen in public for the first time since the news broke, and she has struggled to come to terms with what has transpired. She's trying to stay strong, but it's hard for her. A close friend said of her intense concentration and serious demeanor, she was clearly tormented by her inner conflict. She didn't anticipate Jim's decision to end things this way. These last several days have been difficult for her. As the story developed, people began speculating about what may have caused the separation. Some said that Christy had just drifted away over time, while Jim and others believed that their relationship had been damaged by outside forces. including their demanding work and continual public attention. Being in the public eye is tough on any relationship, according to a media expert. However, it seems that Jim and Chrissy, who seem to be able to bear the weight, have suddenly been affected by the notion of growing apart. Appeared to connect with a lot of people since both Jim and Chrissy had experienced substantial personal growth in the past. Jim, who had been concentrating on his music career in many commercial endeavors, had become more obsessed and aloof. However, according to a source, Chrissy had begun devoting more of her time to her own interests, such as her fashion industry firm. And they were both so focused on their own careers that they no longer prioritized their relationship. Seems to me that their lifestyles were quite different. There were no more romantic gestures or date nights. Others in their local neighborhood had seen their emotional detachment. An informant said that they were living more like roommates than a married couple. Something has to give eventually. The most startling aspect of the entire issue is that Jim never formally acknowledged the divorce. Despite the fact that many people think that his choice to end the partnership was ultimately influenced by their lack of communication and connection, he chose to remain silent instead of sharing his thoughts on the matter, leaving Chrissy to deal with the consequences on her own. One source said that it's as if Jim went into hiding. He didn't let Chrissy or anybody else know what he was up to. He just walked away. This silence has fueled the flames. Even more since many fans believe Jim's actions were cowardly and haughty. According to one fan, it is unfair to Christy that we are left with speculations and speculation when he could have at least stepped out and provided an explanation. As time passes, it seems that the real reasons for the divorce will never be completely understood. Fans are left wondering whether there is more to the story. Then meets the eye, since Jim and Chrissy have both been quiet about the specifics. After decades of relationship, was there infidelity, emotional betrayal, or just two individuals growing apart? For whatever reason, many are still shocked to learn that Jim Jones and Chrissy Lampkin's once loving and powerful relationship has dissolved, leaving a path of pain, uncertainty, and unresolved problems in their wake. It will need some time. As Jim Jones and Chrissy Lampkin's divorce began to make headlines, more information came to light before they completely comprehended the reasons for this once inseparable couple's breakup, portraying a far harsher image of what had truly happened behind the scenes. Fans who were still suffering from the first shock began to demand explanations, but those close to the couple began to divulge more information, and what they revealed was much more nuanced and poignant than anybody had anticipated. The answers didn't appear very clear. One of the most shocking revelations came from the couple's close friends, who said that Jim's decision to file for divorce was not the consequence of a few heated arguments or growing apart. Rather, sources suggested a far deeper betrayal, one that Jim may have had years before the divorce was filed. Rumor had it that Jim had been in a different relationship that had developed covertly over the previous year. Nobody knew this, leaving Chrissy and fans wondering how Jim was able to keep such a big secret. There had been rumors for months, according to someone in Jim's closest group, had been seen with another person, but nobody could confirm it. Chrissy didn't know this and didn't suspect Jim was seeing someone else. Their relationship looked strong to her, but Jim had moved on. The thought of Jim abandoning Chrissy so severely devastated her since she had always been the one to totally back him. After all they had gone through together, Chrissy was crushed to discover that Jim had betrayed her in this manner. However, it seemed that her trust had been destroyed in the most worst way possible. This, even though she had given him everything: love, dedication, and commitment. He seemed to be searching elsewhere. Insiders claim that Chrissy learned about the affair via the media in the worst possible manner. One report claims that Chrissy had no notice and was completely caught off guard. She was surprised when allegations about the relationship began to circulate online She was unaware that Jim was dating someone else. Jim didn't say anything in spite of the mayhem. One source claims that he declined to comment on the accusations, leaving friends and fans puzzled as to why he would remain silent. Jim just stood there and said nothing, seemingly indifferent to Chrissy's right to know the truth. As more details emerged, Jim's silence added to the growing animosity and misunderstanding surrounding the breakup. Fans who had previously admired the couple felt duped by Jim's reluctance to share his perspective, and Chrissy's emotional pain became more apparent. According to a family member, she is upset and has been relying on her pals for support. She was despondent and unable to cope with the reality of the divorce and affair. According to friends who knew about the marriage, although Chrissy was controlling her emotions, Jim appeared to be handling the situation differently. Sources assert that he was more concerned with his reputation and career than the consequences. She never thought that would happen, and she believed that Jim was the only person she could trust. Suddenly, everything was turned upside down. Of the separation, a close acquaintance claims that Jim has always been a businessman and has marketed his songs, brand, and image during the divorce. He is more concerned with his public persona than the emotional aspects of the situation. Jim's public persona altered in the weeks after his divorce announcement, according to his fans. This business-first approach did not sit well with supporters who believed Jim was using the instability for his personal advantage rather than accepting responsibility for the misery he caused. Chrissy was increasingly using social media to promote his music and other endeavors. Despite the lovely images and uplifting comments in his tweets, there was an obvious feeling of stress under the surface. "He's putting on a show," one admirer said, because Chen's typically cheerful demeanor appeared forced, as if he was attempting to divert his attention from the emotional turmoil of his private life. His efforts to persuade himself and everyone else that everything is okay are transparent to us. Chrissy's social media activity decreased significantly during this time. Instead of the big, aggressive tweets that her followers had been used to, she started to be more introspective, sharing enigmatic statements about love, sadness, and moving on. She wrote, "Sometimes the hardest part is letting go." But the resilient fans quickly assumed that Jim was the target of these remarks, and many of them came together to support Chrissy with encouraging and kind comments. A number of unexpected things happened in the midst of the growing tension. "She will get over this," said one admirer. "She deserves better than what Jimmy did to her." Jim was seen at several public gatherings, and one of them had a photo of him with a lady who many thought was the woman he had an affair with. Social media users were taken aback by the image's resemblance to the new lady. "How could he do that to Chrissy right after everything?" said one reader. Whether serious or not, the new connection simply helped to stoke the flames, and many began to doubt Jim's initial devotion to the marriage. It seems that he has already moved on. When Jim was questioned directly about his connection with the woman in issue, the media frenzy reached its peak. Jim once again chose to keep quiet rather than provide a straightforward response, which only served to further mislead his supporters. "He seems to be hiding something, which makes things worse," a fan said. "He could have at least been honest." Many questioned Jim's actual motives as he failed to address claims about his new relationship. Those close to Chrissy said that she had been attending therapy to help her cope with the pain of the betrayal and divorce, while she continued to focus on her own recovery process. "She's doing the best she can," says a close friend, "but it's been very difficult for her. She never imagined Jim would harm her in this way. It's a difficult pill to swallow." Although Chrissy attempted to be tough in public, her loved ones were aware of her misery. As the months passed, the drama surrounding Jim and Chrissy's divorce became more intense, and people continued to be captivated by their tale since it would take some time for the emotional scars from the affair and divorce to heal. Screens, searching for any fresh details or clues about what had transpired between the once dominant pair. While some fans expressed their outrage at Jim's actions on social media, others gave Chrissy support in the hopes that she would once again find happiness. "We want the truth," a fan said. When the dust settled, however, one thing became clear. Jim and Chrissy's relationship ended in a manner that was much more convoluted than anybody had anticipated. "We deserve to hear the explanation Jim owes Chrissy." The issue of whether Jim would ever admit what had really happened persisted as the tale progressed. The emotional toll and the silence all suggested a far more serious betrayal than fans could have imagined. Or would he continue to conceal himself behind his public persona? As news of Jim Jones and Chrissy Lampin's abrupt breakup circulated, their previously solid facade began to crumble even further. As the public's need for explanations grew, and the disputes around their divorce became more complicated as the weeks stretched into months, those who had previously fully supported the couple were now split. As they listened, fans were left thinking about more than simply the connection. Was this really an error? Or was there a more serious treachery that no one could have foreseen? As time passed, additional information regarding Jim's behavior during the last phases of their relationship surfaced, and the reality was much more startling than anybody had anticipated. Despite Chrissy's unwavering support, Jim's alienation was not a new development. According to a number of persons close to the couple, rather, it had been a years-long battle. Jim had gradually begun to emotionally and psychologically separate from her. What had begun as little, apparently insignificant, unpleasant incidents had developed into a total emotional estrangement. A close friend of Jim and Chrissy's said that Jim was checked out. Jim began to alter with time, but Chrissy offered him everything: unconditional love, support, and commitment. Chrissy believed he was more committed to the relationship than he really was. He had changed. But she didn't want to acknowledge it since she believed it to be a passing phase. The gaps in their relationship widened as Jim's career progressed because he was always under intense pressure to remain relevant as a major player in the hip-hop industry. For years, Chrissy had stood by him through his highs and lows, disputes with the media, and challenges of being in the spotlight, but as time passed, the strain only increased. Chrissy always felt that their love would last no matter what. But Jim began to neglect the connection he had treasured as his attention turned more to his profession. Chrissy's close friend said she was unaware that Jim had just recently begun to perceive her as a part of his past and that he was focusing more on his celebrity, brand, and job than on the future with her. He was too preoccupied with his own objectives. Chrissy did her best to rekindle the spark that had made their relationship unbreakable, despite her misgivings, but it grew more difficult to ignore Jim's emotional absence. According to another source, she felt like she was losing the battle. No matter how hard she tried to grab his attention, he had already gone too far and had stopped putting her first. He didn't want to try again, even though he could feel him sliding away. Fans first thought that the breakup was the result of a little argument or a simple miscommunication, but it quickly became apparent that the problems were more severe because of Jim's actions behind closed doors, which heightened allegations of adultery. More deeply seated, Jim had been attempting to conceal from Chrissy the love connection that had grown out of what had begun as a lighthearted flirtation. According to sources, Jim's new partner was someone he had known for a long time and had played a significant role in his social life. However, Jim was hesitant to discuss this new connection in public and made an effort to keep it a secret for as long as possible. For a long time, Chrissy was not aware of Jim's new connection. According to a source who told me she had no idea, Jim was always very cautious to keep his private life secret. As rumors circulated and new facts surfaced, the public's opinion of Jim began to shift. The reality didn't become clear until the divorce was completed. Fans who had previously seen him as a dynamic, confident rapper were now questioning his allegiance and morals. And Jim's silence on the subject only made them more irritated. Jim refused to provide an explanation. Instead, in an apparent attempt to divert attention from the mounting tension in his personal life, he continued to share photos of himself traveling, having fun, promoting his music, and living his best life. But things were far from perfect behind the scenes. People close to Chrissy said that she was dealing with the psychological fallout from Jim's betrayal. According to a close acquaintance, she was shocked and devastated to see her once loving husband go so quickly. His treachery wounded Chrissy, but she refused to let it define who she was. The buddy goes on, she recognized she needed to heal before she could go ahead. So she took some time for herself and began going to therapy. It was crucial that she look after herself and process the pain of the breakup. She refused to let Jim's actions hurt her. She wanted to come out stronger than before. Many of Chrissy's followers were motivated by her resolve to focus on her own growth and healing. Chrissy is powerful. She's gone through a lot, yet she still stands strong. An admirer said, "She really is a queen." Chrissy's followers united to support her as she began sharing more information about her recovery journey on social media. "You don't need Jim," said a different enthusiast. As Jim's reputation deteriorated, he said, "You deserve a lot more. We've got your back, Chrissy." Fans who had previously supported him began to voice their dissatisfaction of his actions, and his unwillingness to respond to the charges or provide an explanation further fueled the fires. "It's not fair to Chrissy or the people who looked up to him. He needs to own up to what he did," said one fan. Jim's followers began to question if he was really the guy they had loved or whether he was simply another star posing as someone else. The longer he kept silent, Jim attempted to change the story by posting an enigmatic message on social media about moving and finding serenity. "Genuine pleasure sometimes requires letting go. Life is about progress and learning from your mistakes," the caption said. While some fans saw the letter as an attempt to divert attention from the underlying problems, others saw it as a first step toward healing. "He's just behaving like a victim. It doesn't work like that. He hasn't apologized for anything. And now he's talking about growth," one admirer said. As Jim continued to promote his music and post on social media, the public's dislike of him grew. Fans were duped not just by his infidelity but also by his lack of accountability. Many began to question whether Jim would ever truly apologize to Chrissy and accept responsibility for the devastation he had caused. Meanwhile, Chrissy was determined to continue the healing process even though she knew it would take some time to fully recover from the emotional toll of the divorce. Chrissy is stronger than ever thanks to the people who had supported her throughout her relationship with Jim. As the news of Jim and Chrissy's divorce began to dominate headlines, it became evident that this was no ordinary breakup. "She come out of this much better than before," a fan tweeted. The world watched and waited to see what would happen next, but Chrissy's road to recovery had only just begun, while Jim continued, seemingly unaffected by the consequences. The media frenzy, emotional roller coaster, and betrayal all served as reminders of how challenging public partnerships can be. The public was fascinated, but not out of curiosity. As the media circus surrounding Jim Jones and Chrissy Lamkin's breakup grew louder and more dramatic, will Jim be held responsible for his actions? Or will he continue to hide behind his public persona and let Chrissy pick up the pieces of their broken relationship? Fans were devastated by Chrissy's betrayal. She had always been portrayed as Jim's trustworthy, strong girlfriend who supported him through good times and bad. Finding out that the man she had spent so much time with had lied to her and refused to accept responsibility for his actions infuriated and saddened many of her supporters. Jim was strangely quiet in the face of their fans' mounting indignation. Instead of his typically confident and arrogant public demeanor, he posted ambiguous comments on social media that implied he was moving on and focusing on his profession. While some followers were becoming more frustrated with Jim's failure to confront the problem head-on, others regarded his posts as signs of maturity and self-reflection. They want answers, not cryptic Instagram comments. It was obvious that Chrissy's emotional response to the breakup was overwhelming, but over time, she gradually regained her energy. And friends said she had made a greater effort to prioritize herself. Although it was exhausting, the media frenzy had given her a sense of clarity. Chrissy realized she didn't need Jim to define her or validate her worth. Chrissy Lamkin was more than simply Jim Jones' girlfriend or friend. She was a strong, independent woman in her own right. In a private discussion with a close friend, Chrissy revealed that she had been considering her relationship with Jim for months. It was difficult, but Chrissy has always been a warrior. According to her friend, she doesn't let anything get her down. Yes, it hurt, but she knows that no one is worth her, especially those who can't appreciate her. As Chrissy recovered, the story of Jim's betrayal began to take shape. The rumors surrounding the meeting only grew more intense, and it became clear that Jim's new partner was a woman with whom he had been in a long-term relationship rather than someone from his social circle. According to people close to Jim, he had been meeting her behind Chrissy's back for months before the divorce was finalized. But perhaps most shockingly, an unnamed source claimed that Jim even attempted to persuade Chrissy that he was merely confused and that the romance was not serious. According to the source, Chrissy confronted Jim about his behavior because she was upset about his apparent indifference to her feelings and the betrayal she had to endure. But he insisted that he wasn't ready to end the relationship in spite of the affair because he wanted it both ways and didn't know how to handle the situation. He wanted Chrissy to stay in his life, but he didn't want to stop seeing the other lady, so it was a catastrophe. He was self-centered and stupid to believe Chrissy would put up with it. Fans who had already been crushed by the affair were now incensed. And the fact that Jim had attempted to persuade Chrissy to stay in a committed relationship added gasoline to the flames. Many of Jim's fans attacked him on social media, accusing him of lying and treachery. "This is why I can't trust celebrities," a fan said. Even Jim's erstwhile followers began to question his conduct since they believe they can abuse people as much as they want and then continue as if nothing had happened. As they learned more about the affair and Jim's efforts to justify it, their contempt grew. Jim thinks he can play both sides, but it's clear who the real victim in this case is. Another reader said, "Chrissy deserves more than this," but Jim remained mute in the face of these disclosures. Chrissy's fortitude was clear. Following the betrayal, Chrissy boldly decided to reveal her experience in accordance with her wishes. Chrissy addressed her breakup in a deep and lovely Instagram post. "I thought about the past for a long time, on the love that was once there, and on the pain that came with the lies," she wrote on her blog. "I'm not here to be someone's fool or second choice. But leaving someone you thought you'd spend your life with is never easy." Her comments went viral online. Fans praised and encouraged her in their comments, saying things like, "Chrissy, you're very powerful, you are deserving of everything. Never let someone make you feel inferior," said a fan. Sarah was complimented for regaining control of her story and refusing to allow Jim's actions define who she is, while Chrissy was hailed for her strength. Throughout the most difficult time in her life, as seen by the outpouring of affection, it wasn't so easy for Jim. He felt more alone than ever as his admirers' response grew. Jim decided to speak out in a last-ditch effort to save his name. In reaction to the accusations, he posted a video on social media announcing that the divorce was complete. In the film, Jim said, "Life is about learning from your mistakes. And I've learned a lot." But instead of owning up to his shortcomings, he provided vague platitudes about growing as a person and moving on. "I love Chrissy and want the best for her. So even though it's challenging, I'm going forward." Fans expected a more heartfelt answer that acknowledged the pain. Thus, the absence of a genuine apology did not impress them. This looks like a stupid attempt to maintain one's dignity, yet he really apologized for what he had done. As the drama unfolded, it became evident that the ramifications of the divorce would be as complex as the union itself. One admirer said he still didn't comprehend. Fans were divided. Some continued to support Jim, while others banded together in support of Chrissy. Many issues remain unresolved as a result of Jim's silence regarding the event and his incapacity to accept full responsibility for his actions. Chrissy was certain that she would not let Jim's treachery to define her. Despite everyone speculating about what Jim would do next, one was going to give her advice on how to feel about her own life. Jim's public image was still deteriorating, and Chrissy's path to self-love and healing had just recently begun. The public continued to demand answers, and their divorce-related stress had not yet eased. But it was evident that Jim and Chrissy were now living completely different lives. And the narrative appeared to become more difficult, sad, and unexpected by the day. Emotionally, Chrissy had already moved on from the relationship and was focusing on her own development and the support of her loved ones. But as the media continued to concentrate on the consequences from Jim Jones and Chrissy Lampkin's separation, the two ex-lovers' enmity reached previously unheard of heights. Meanwhile, Jim was managing the ongoing attention his activities brought. His carefully crafted image was progressively demolished as additional details about his transgressions surfaced. And the public's reaction was harsher than he had expected. Jim was mostly mute behind his mysterious social media messages, but Chrissy was anything from quiet. Her fans applauded her for taking charge of her story and making a name for herself. She had transformed from the hopeless, abandoned lady to